Hey guys, welcome back to the Small Music Artist Type podcast. This episode is going to be going out a little later. Mostly, there was a lot going on. It just was easier. Also working on possibly an album. So that's definitely going to take a lot more of my time. This is the next season of the podcast. It's been 3 seasons because we're on season 3. I'm so glad that we are all back here, and, well, right now I was saying that while I'm alone, recording myself, talk to no one else. That is joy. Wonderful. Great. This episode, we are bringing someone back. I'm bringing someone back that has not been on since, season 1, which, again, kind of crazy. So, this episode is on Azalea, who does more like a post-rock and metal music, which is so, since the last time, they've been on the podcast, their music has changed, and personally, I think it has changed for the better. It has gotten so much better, so much cooler, and it's awesome. There's many reasons why, and I'm so grateful that Azalea has agreed to come back on this podcast, and this podcast, well, not really this podcast, but I was originally going to have Azalea back on in November of 2023, near the end of season 2. There's just a lot of things logistically that just wasn't able to. So I am back, we are back, and this episode is on Azalea. So without further ado, let's get started. I would like to talk about one thing before we fully get into everything, which is, if you don't know and you're not involved, Spotify changed how they do things with artists. The 2024 year and going on, where there's almost an eligibility for when you can start getting paid by Spotify. This is for each track. So like an album, each track on an album, each song has to get 1,000 streams before it hits the mark where an artist will get paid. By the way, this is not 1,000. Hey, it is Editor Al, just to let you guys know that I'm not trying to diss Spotify at all. I do recommend you go check out the article. They are doing it to take care of some of they're calling it the bad actors that they're dealing with, and it makes sense why they are doing it. It's just there are some smaller artists that it does end up affecting, so that's why I'm bringing it up. Anyways, I hope you enjoy the rest of the episode. Entirely, this is 1,000 in the last year, so I feel like now is another big time to really push these artists out there, and please check them out. They do a lot of amazing work, and there's some really good music. Yeah, so please make sure that when you can, you are supporting smaller artists, whether it's buying their songs on iTunes or playing their songs on repeat on Spotify. First off, if you don't know who Azalea is, not the big artist who does rap, I think. This is Azalea, who does, like I said previously, post-rock and metal music, and has been putting music out for, I think it's going to be 2 years now? I think. Which is crazy. They've released several albums in that span of time, and they're working on new music, and they have been constantly learning and growing, and the music just gets better and better, and I would like to share Azalea with all you guys again. So, first off, you can find Azalea on all the streaming platforms. They are also on Instagram, where they post any updates and sometimes like little videos of them playing some of the songs, which is super cool to listen to and watch. And I definitely recommend it. It'll all be down in the description. I will probably include song links to any of the songs I refer to. They will most likely be YouTube links. So I'd like to get into the interview. Thank you, Azalea, for coming back And the episode I did with you was the first time I had an episode go over 30 minutes. Maybe we talked a lot. I don't know if this one's going to be as long. I have a lot of stuff, at least that I know that I'm saying, that I'm going to have to like clean up and edit, and it's going to make it probably really short. At least my part kind of sucks, but that happens every time I take a break from recording podcast episodes. But it is so amazing to have Azalea back, and let's all give thank yous for her taking time out of her day to answer these questions. So, let's get started. Your song, Echolea? I never know how to pronounce it. It's been out for a little while, and I still don't know. It skyrocketed on Spotify a while back, and it is now your most popular song. I believe it is at 15,000 streams right now. What was your reaction to the sudden burst of listeners and the burst of all the listens going straight up, all like thousands of streams?
Hello. Yes. I'm glad to be back on the podcast again. About Echolalia. That song, I wrote that song actually like 3 years ago for a project that wasn't even related to the Absence album. That song starting to like blow up. I freaked out a bit at first, but I was mainly really interested in like watching my stats every day and seeing how it climbed and being able to see how the algorithm worked and stuff like that. And it's pretty cool, but it's also the bane of my existence because Echolalia is just the intro track to the album. It's like a short 1 minute, 18 seconds long intro to the album. It is pretty interesting though, since it's in 5/8 time, and it's the first time I've ever written something on a time signature like that. But seeing it explode was kind of weird, where I wasn't expecting it at all, but it was really fun for the most part, seeing it be my most popular song for so long. It isn't actually my top song anymore. I think it's like number 7. All of my newer stuff has overtaken it in terms of popularity, not streams yet. But in terms of popularity, I think my top song is like my latest one right now, which would be Autumn, which is very, very vastly different. Let me see. It's July 15th, which is also vastly different. And that one is actually over 1,000 listens, so maybe it'll catch up at some point. Who knows?
So, number 2, like many artists, there is always something in this world that inspires us to create music. Is there anything in your daily life that inspires you to create those amazing songs?
So for inspiration, that's an interesting question actually. A lot of my inspiration comes from I don't know how to describe it, just the world around me. Like I'll be out in the forest and I'll see a pretty scene that I like, and I'll come up with a whole story around the scene I see. Like it's a clearing in the forest, and I have a song that I'll be releasing soon. It's kind of dark, I guess, but it's saw like a clearing in the forest, and I was like, this is really beautiful. I wonder if I could capture its essence in the song and add a little bit of like narrative to it. So you'll see the story of the song when it comes out, but it's about this whole like dramatic event happening in the forest, and I'm currently writing an album around the concept of the forest. So I guess my inspiration just comes from the things I find beautiful and inspirational in the world around me.
With all the songs you've put out there, are there any plans for doing a small concert or performance in the future?
I've thought about it, but when it comes to like concerts and stuff like that, I'd need to get a whole thing set up because I'm the only person in this band, I guess. I do the drums, I do the guitars, the vocals, every single part of it. And I can't sing while playing the guitar or everything. That's always been something that's hard for me. especially in like heavier songs where the riff is a lot more technical. Like, I don't know, I'd have to get a bunch of people actually put together like a band or get everything like digitized on like a computer to play back the parts that I can't replicate live. Like I can't if there's one song I have called To Speak with Trees, and the entire idea behind that song is it's layers upon layers and layers of guitars. So like the main thing has like five different guitars playing their own like isolated melody, and it all combines into one big like composition. But I want to be able to do that live with even like two other guitarists. That'd be really hard for me.
Number 4, during your time in the music industry thus far, what is your most rewarding experience you've had with others in the community?
When it comes to the music industry and the community, I'm not very out there. I really need to be to grow. I need to start communicating with people and talking, I guess, just getting to know people more and expressing myself personally a lot more outwards into the big wide music world. But if I were to go for my most rewarding experience, it'd probably be that song I just mentioned. Spoiler, the song is called The Flowers Have Reclaimed You, and I wrote it, and then for the chorus I actually reached out to one of my friends. Her name is Aya, and I got her, and I asked her if she wanted to do vocals for the chorus to sing the part that I had written, because I wasn't quite happy with how my voice sounded on it, and I was like, wait, you know how you know who'd sound sick here? Aya. So I reached out to her. We'd been planning to do something together at some point. Not planning, but the idea had been there that we wanted to do something together. So I reached out to her, and she was like, hell yes. So she sent back their vocal recordings, and I was like, oh man, okay, this is gonna be really good. These aren't even processed yet, and this is amazing. So I put them together, I processed them up, and it's so good. I'm so happy with how things went, and she's really happy with how things went. It was just an overall amazing experience, and I'd love to do more stuff like that in the future. I just need to like get myself out there more and talk to more people and do collabs that feel meaningful for both of us.
Number 5, what is your favorite song that you've created thus far?
Um, let's see. I'm gonna think about that for a second. I'm not gonna name anything unreleased because it's definitely an unreleased song that you guys haven't heard yet. Um, let's see. I think it'd either be July 15th, White Room, or Autumn, because White Room is just I think my best like performance in general. It has my best vocals on it, my best like mixing work, my best vocal layering. Like I'm screaming in that song under the clean singing during the chorus, but if you're not listening for it, you won't even like notice it's there, but it adds so much. But you just can't consciously notice it. And I'm really proud of the way I managed to mix all of that in there. July 15th is I like that one a lot, not because I'm very proud of it, but not because I have a personal like big connection to it, but because so many other people do, which I guess would be why it's my top song. People I've been told what it means to people, to like some people have told me what it means to them, and that just means a lot, I guess. And I named it after the day that I wrote it. I had it as a temporary name, but the more it was talked about, the more that became its actual name, and it just fit. It felt right. And naming it that turned a rather unimportant day into a pretty important day for me and the other people who like it, at least. And Autumn is my latest song that I've released. It's a lot heavier. It's a bit more of like a shoegaze take on like very heavy metalcore stuff with big droning like rhythm guitar and droning leads and stuff like that, drowned in reverb. and a very monotone yet emotional type of screaming happening that's broken up a bit with some like pitched distorted vocals and stuff like that. That and I put a lot into the lyrics for that song too. And I think it's just overall my most emotional and personal song, I guess. If you can even decipher that from the lyrics, it's a little specific to me. I'm not sure. If you didn't know me, you wouldn't understand, I don't think.
Number 6, like Prince, you seem to do almost anything regarding the creation of music. Is there a favorite?
Yeah, I really don't have any. I have specialties when it comes to writing music, but it's not anything like I don't only write. I'm not pigeonholed into one type of thing. I write I write metalcore, shoegaze, post rock, emo, synthwave, breakcore, um folk music kinda. Like anything that I feel is to feel like it encapsulates the energy of what I'm feeling at the moment. I've learned how to write it at one point or another, and I can call back to that and even mix them if I want to. I don't release all of the music I write. Like if I write like a breakcore song, which I've done before quite a few times, but I've just never released them because I'm not gonna throw that onto the album full of like calm ambient 2,000 meters, 2,000 leagues under the sea, 20,000 leagues under the sea, 10,000? I'm forgetting my numbers. Leagues under the sea and pitch blackness of the ocean, post rock. That's just not gonna blend well in there. So you can hear it in some of my songs though. I have one song called Archangel, which is kind of like a synthy, like imagine like a video game boss song from like the olden days with the chip tune music, stuff like that. It's kind of that energy but a little more modernized. That song I threw it onto an album with all the post rock stuff and it didn't blend that well. I regret putting it out there, but a lot of people like it, so guess I can't complain too much.
Number 7, is there any plans to work with any artist on music in the near future?
Yeah, of course. Um, I'm always looking for new collaborations and people to make music with, and it's a little hard for me sometimes to make music with another person since I'm not like a band or anything. I do all my stuff solo, but like Noah Avankar. Sorry if I'm mispronouncing your name. I realized I'd never actually said it out loud. Um, but him, I started working on a song with him like a year ago, and it just never happened. I recently did production for one of his songs recently, and that was really fun. I wasn't able to finish producing it, but it was at a good enough condition already where it could be released before I lost all of the data on my computer, which kind of sucked. But yeah, I definitely want to work on more music with him. Um, there's some people that I want to reach out to who I just haven't reached out to, and that's just a lack of confidence on my end, and like that's a big commitment once you send the message. Like you can unsend the message, obviously, but you don't want to unsend the message. That's not great.
Number 8, do you have any super fans yet? I know that occasionally I'll get like someone who just streams a song like 50 times in a row, and I'm like, whoa, man. Have you had any experience with anything like that?
Super fans are always funny for me because some of them are more obvious. Like my girlfriend, I'd say she's a bit of a super fan. And it's not just because she's my girlfriend. Of course, she's gonna support my music and like it. I've realized that she's actually like a fan of the music itself, and not just the fact that I write it. Because every time I pick up her phone, she's listening to one of my songs, and I'm like, oh, so you're where 30, 50% of my streams are coming from. That makes a lot of sense. You're that one person that's always listening. I think that's really sweet. Some of my my friends like my music a lot. They aren't exactly super fans, but they vibe with the music. I've had this one person on their Spotify account that says that their Spotify account just says Ruby, and all the time for a while now, I've seen them playing one of my first songs. The last song of my first EP is in one of their playlists, and they play it like every night. And I don't know why, but I really like that. It just feels really sweet to me.
So, number 9, it's a little story time here. I was driving to violin lessons and Red Noise was playing. And I kind of had the realization that Red Noise might work really well transposed for string orchestra. Is there any songs that you've written that you would feel would work better transposed for another instrument, and what kind of instrument?
Oh my god, so on the album with Archangel and Red Noise, earlier, I think it's the fourth song, let me check. No, the third song. It's called The Night We Lost Her, and it's a bit more of a personal song for me. It doesn't have any lyrics or anything. It's 2 minutes, 25 seconds long, nothing crazy, but I think if you transpose that to a string orchestra, it would go really good due to the way it's just chords being played. It's very like ambient. It's just synthesized chords, like complicated chords layered on top of each other, sliding in and out, and eventually having a nice melody. And the only part that wouldn't carry over in string orchestra fashion is there's a kick drum that comes in at some point, a subtle kick that like subtly side chains everything else in the composition. But I think that song would go really well in like orchestral fashion, or To Speak with Trees. That one could sound pretty good in orchestral fashion. Yeah, just you and I, maybe. That's the 14th song on that album. Actually, it's a very long album, and that's just a short piano piece I wrote to maybe try and get people's minds off of echolalia, and it didn't work. So I don't know. Still pretty though. A lot of people like it.
Number 10, your most recent EP, Watercolors, is probably my favorite EP at the moment, especially with all the vocals and such. Which song from that EP is your personal favorite, and tell us why?
Oh man, this one's about favorites again. Watercolors was a big leap for me. It was very artistically defining. A lot of growth happened there because that's the first time I've written a song with full vocals. Like I've done vocals before, but they weren't good because I hadn't really learned how to sing or really put too much effort into it. But with Watercolors, I went full send. I did vocals, full vocals for every song. It's a bit more of like a shoegaze, emo kind of direction for me, and I'm gonna evolve on that a little bit more. But I'm gonna stick to that energy a little bit. Maybe dive a bit more into the shoegaze and metalcore, deathcore moments. My upcoming songs have a lot of deathcore involved in them, where it'll be like a normal shoegaze, like emo song, and then the last minute of the song it'll drop down and like an entire octave in guitar tuning, and it'll get stupid. But having to choose a favorite from this is hard. I could go over individual reasons why I love each and every one of them, but I'd have to say White Room, because White Room is, I just feel like it's my best. It's my best work. So, yeah, I guess White Room would be my favorite.
Number 11, which is the last one, sadly. What is your creative process like when you're making music?
Yeah, I just kind of like I just create whatever I can. I just play until I have a good basis. And then I'll open Reaper and I'll write it down. I'll write my riff for my chord progression or whatever it is. I'll record it. And I'll get all my other instruments in there and I'll just keep adding things to it until it sounds detailed and fleshed out. Where then I'll move on to the next section and then the next section, putting a little less effort into those. and then I come back around and I add more to them, and I just do that over and over and over again for like 2 months until it sounds the way I want it to. So it's like it feels like a full developed song that like people, like someone cared about and someone put effort into, because someone does care about it and someone did put effort into. So it feels like you're listening to something real and meticulous. Well, not meticulous. Some songs I purposely go for a little bit of like a trashy sound. Like the song I'm gonna be releasing next, "The Flowers Had Reclaimed You." The mix is a little trashy. It sounds a little like, it isn't grunge, but it feels like if the word grunge was a mix. It's kind of like, it's a little muddy on purpose. The vocals are kind of like whispery and loud. Not loud, buried a little bit. That's shoegaze though. The rhythm guitars have a little bit of reverb on them that kind of just washes them out just the perfect amount. And I don't know, I just like that sound. How do I stop recording? My creative process. Oh, that's an interesting one. Usually when I'm doing other things, I'll just sit around and watch like YouTube videos or something like that, or hang out and like calls with my friends. And while I'm doing that, I hold my guitar and I just kind of like noodle on it, slowly coming up with something new. And once I find something new that I like, I'll play it over and over and over again and keep adding to it until it sounds really good. Like I can just I could take my guitar right now and play something. Let's see. Just come up with anything. Yeah, I just write whatever I can, and whatever happens, wherever my fingers go, I write that, and then I open Reaper whenever I have something good chords, good riff, whatever. I put that in there, and I start building the song around it. I keep adding detail after detail until it sounds fully fleshed out and up to my standard. And then I start working on other parts where I put a little less effort into the detailing part of it, and I just focus on good songwriting. And once I get to the end, I go back through over and over and over again, adding things, little moments, ear candy, anything to make the song fleshed out and detailed and full. And once I do that, I guess, like, I put it out and see what people think. See if people can hear all the little details and hope that people are enjoying them. Since that's the last question, though, thank you so much for having me. I always forget how fun it is to respond to these sorts of questions and stuff like that. It also gives me a chance to like think about how I feel about things. Like I'm just going along. I'm not asking myself these questions. Nobody's asking me these questions. So I never think about them, and I never get to reflect on this sort of thing. But when I'm doing something like this, I get to think about it and discover how I feel in the process of answering your questions at the same time. So, thanks for having me on. Maybe I can do it again in like 3 years or something if I'm still a musician.
All right. Thank you so much, Azalea, for coming on here to talk about yourself and your music. And I wish you the best of luck this year with your music career and the best of luck in life in general. If you guys are interested in Azalea's music, I definitely recommend you check her out. You can look up everything in the description. It'll all the necessary things will be there. Any songs I mentioned will be down there, so including Red Noise and Watercolors, the EP, all of that, they will all be down there. So just to make it easier to check out. I do have one question, and if I do get comments on this podcast, but if I'm able to find artists a little faster and once I get into like the zone of editing's podcast, I'd like to post them more often. That would also mean that I would have to get suggestions a lot more often, which I don't, and I'm finding them all on my own, and not gonna lie, it's really hard. But I would like to post these more often. I really love doing this podcast. I do have this podcast, it does technically have a Discord server. Nothing really happens because there's like no one on it, but I will link that down either in the comment section or in the description for anyone who would like to check that out. I do talk and give updates occasionally. No one sees it because I'm talking to a brick wall, basically. But it is technically there if you would like to look, and I think that's it. As always, if you have any suggestions for other artists to come onto the podcast, please comment them down below. If you like this artist, this video / podcast, it would mean a lot to like the video. It helps bring it out to more people, which really does help the artist that is being talked about. And I wish all you guys a amazing rest of your day, and thank you for listening.